Hello and welcome back to another Jaguar Mk1 video. It's been some time, a couple of months in fact, since I last did anything. Obviously the current situation in the country means that I can't actually travel to the car. So I'd kind of got to a point with the suspension, I think in the last video, where it's all stripped down, ready to go for, I want to say powder coating, but I'm not 100% sure yet. A few people have suggested that getting it blasted, etch primed and then painted would be better than blasting and powder coating. Some people think ceramic coating. It's a decision I'm really agonising over at the minute, so if you've got any opinions on that, actually comment down below if you've had personal experience of it, which you think's better, so on, because that all does need to go to powder coat very soon. Need to get that out of the way. Obviously I've not been working on the car, I've not been working on the Jaguar at all, pretty much I've been building a motorbike. I've recently, well today, bought an engine stand that's actually capable of fitting the engine on. So that's going to be the next thing. I want to get the engine on the engine stand, I want to get the sump off it, I want to get the crank out, then I need to get the pistons out. Obviously the bores are in a bad way, so I want to get the pistons drifted out, probably with an old hammer shaft or something like that. And then the block can get sent away for dipping, acid dipping. I believe it's an acid dip. And then obviously it needs to go for the cold welding on the crack in there, in that one. So I've tonight taken the flywheel off, which was predictably pretty much stuck onto the back of the crank. I've taken the giant clutch assembly off. I was going to mount the engine stand onto the engine tonight, but the bolts I've got aren't long enough. I considered cutting the ends of these down, just cutting them down to about there, but then obviously the new bolts would foul the block. I considered flipping the bolts around, but it starts to get more work than you need to do really. So I thought I'll just order some the 3/8 UNF, what I need for the engine stand. So I'll get some of those ordered. They should be here in a day or so. So by the end of this week, what is it now? It's only Monday. By the end of this week, the engine should be on the engine stand, and I'm hoping to have stripped the sump off and done a little bit more. So for now, I've flooded all the bores with penetrating oil. Let that try and soak down over the next few days. The top two, these two, the front and back cylinder, 1 and 6, 1 and 6. They shouldn't take much persuading to come out, because obviously they've been at the top, so in theory the bores of those will be quite good. It's those four in the middle that are going to be a nightmare, but at least I'm going to drift them out downward, so fingers crossed we'll be alright with that. We'll get to that. So that's all for tonight really. I only came outside really to see if the engine stand would fit, and then got a little carried away. Got my trainers on, I'm not really dressed for it. It's freezing cold as well. So yeah, I'll leave this one here. I'll tag this onto the mounting it onto the engine stand video. So I'll come back to you later in the week when I've got it mounted on the engine stand. So here we are again. It's now Wednesday night, and as you can see, the engine's now on the stand. I ordered some quite long 3/8 UNF high tensile bolts. I measured the depth of these and how far into the block I could go, so I got them just the right length, so it's going into the block as far as it can basically. And then the same down there, I don't know if you can see, but the end of the bolt is already protruding through the block, so I've got as much in there as I can. I never particularly like how precarious these seem, so before I start any massive work on it, I'm going to make a wooden, probably just stand for the front of the engine, just to go from the floor down under the, probably under crank, under nose at crank, just till I get it stripped down, because there's just too much flex in it, you know. But that's a job for another night. Tonight was just about getting the engine on the stand. The other night, as I mentioned, I filled the bores up with WD-40. I was hoping to come out tonight and see no WD-40 in there whatsoever. I was really hoping it would have worked its way down any little nook and cranny that it could find at the side of the pistons, and obviously made drifting these pistons out a hell of a lot better, but it hasn't, so that's going to be fun. I don't think these two will be too bad. as I mentioned before, because they've been right at the top, so I think the bores on them should be pretty good. The next job to do is to drain out whatever's in the sump, and then I can obviously get the sump off, get the sump off, start getting the crank out, and get it stripped down. Oh, hello. That will be possibly this weekend's job, maybe Sunday. They forecast quite heavy snow on Sunday, so I might just spend a day in garage and work on this, but we'll see. So yeah, more soon. Again, I'm going to stitch this together with the first video and with the next video, so this will all be one quite long video about putting the engine on the stand and starting to strip it down. So I'll come back to you when we've drained the oil. So I decided to drain the, I want to say oil, but as you can see, the oil's just starting to come out. There we go. Yeah. Not ideal. But the quicker it's out, the better, so which is why I wanted to do it tonight. So welcome back to a rainy Thursday night. And I couldn't help but come out here and do something, so I've taken the sump off. It's pretty grim in there. Every piston's full of this horrible sludge, so that's going to take some cleaning, but I can now at least get to the bottoms of the pistons. It's going to be fun to try and get all of the split pins out of, well, on every little end there is a castellated nut and a split pin. So I'm now going to have to try and get the split pins out to get the bearing caps off, so I can somehow drift the pistons out. And that's going to be entertaining. What's not going to be so fun is the entire garage floor getting covered in this weird milkshake stuff. So I need to figure out what to do about that. Don't know how much more I'll do tonight. But progress is progress, so we'll keep delving into it and see where we end up. So that's plenty for tonight. The oil pump's now off, and I've got 5 of the 6 bearing caps for the rods off. There is some rust on the crank, but it's not bad. I mean, I can't feel any scoring or anything, so I'm hoping that the crank can possibly be saved. It's quite interesting getting the split pins out, especially from the ones that are buried down there. So next job is, I've knocked all the lock tabs down for the big ends. Next job in the next night or so is to take the timing cover off, which you can't take off until you've dropped the sump. So I'll take that off, then I will get the timing chains off, lower timing chain off, get the distributor out because that's still in. And then I think I'll get the crank out because that's a big bulk of weight, because I still don't like it just being supported on there. So I'll get the crank out, that'll make the whole thing a lot lighter, a lot easier to manoeuvre and a lot less stress on the engine crane. And then it's time to start thinking about drifting those pistons out. All this is getting us towards being able to send the block away, so it's all good. So yeah, more tomorrow possibly, if not this weekend. It's now a few days later, and as you can see, as I move across the top, all the pistons are now out. I've also taken the time to knock the core plugs out on the back as well, and save for those 3 bolts being taken out, the block is now completely stripped down. There's another bolt over there that holds the distributor clamp, but it's, you know, for all intents and purposes, it is completely stripped down. The pistons took a hell of a lot to get them out. Although the bores, now they're out, don't look quite as bad, they were so seized. I'll just show you a few of those. they were in there. So I'll definitely be buying a new set of pistons and everything. New set of pistons, possibly new rods, obviously all new bearings, all new bolts and so on. What it means is that the engine phase of the project for now, or this phase of the engine project, is now done. This block's now got to go away for dipping to get it back to being completely clean. It'll clean out all the coolant passages, all the oilways, everything. When it's been dipped, it'll have the crack cold stitched. So that crack will get cold stitched, and then when that's done, it will be bored out, I believe plus 40, maybe plus 60 thou, and it'll have the head surface machined. Then it'll come back to me as a very good, usable, original block, which is what I wanted. So then I'll give it a lick of paint, new core plugs, and we'll start the reassembly. While the block won't be going away for a few weeks yet. I've not quite got the funds together for that, but at least it's at a point where it can go. However, I have still got the cylinder head to do, so that's going to probably be the next project. I need to get a lot of parts ready to go to powder coat or to be painted, whichever, I've not decided yet. And I also need to get a pile of parts to go to vapor blasting. So for instance, the bell housing will be going to vapor blast. The tail housing, the gearbox, the overdrive will be going away, so the gearbox will be getting worked on. And I also want to strip the cylinder head, so the cylinder head can get all the machining work done, and that can go for blasting as well. And then obviously there's a mountain of parts to do with the timing. Obviously timing cover, all the gears want cleaning, new chains getting, carburetors still want going through. There's a fair bit to do. So while the block is done, and it's a decent step, it's by no means completely finished. So that's where we're at with the Mk1 project. I still can't get up to the car. We're still only allowed essential travel for work, and it's not. So I have got to wait until we're allowed to travel, but we'll get there. In the meantime, we'll crack on with those other bits. Plenty of other things to be getting done. And obviously, if you've checked out my other videos, I've got a new project car, the SD1, so that'll be getting done. And although I don't do videos of them, there's a fair few other bits in here that need time and attention. So there's more to come. Like and subscribe, share it around. Any comments, leave down below. Any suggestions, and I'll see you next time for either cylinder head or gearbox. We'll see whichever one takes my fancy. Thanks for watching.